Well, this is definitely our most busy time of the year. We are doing both interior and exterior painting at this time. We obviously were set back this year because of the weather, but we are getting caught up. I've got 6 great crews that are completing the work for us, and we're doing a lot of exterior repairs, wood replacements. People think when they call us for the painting that before they do that, they need to find somebody to do the exterior wood repairs before we even show up. And we take care of all of that. So there's very few repairs that we can't take care of.
This is the Hire It Done Radio Network. My name's Adam Helfman. So, you go to Hire It Done, you're like, okay, I need a contractor. Top 5 projects that you want to do around your house. Always in the top 5, since I've been doing HireItDone.com, and that's since 2005. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. Always in the top 5 is painting. And, you know, getting a good painter, it's really up to the person who is judging. I got to call it, because I've seen people come to me, look at this paint job. I did it myself. And I'm looking at the walls and I'm like, oh, it's pretty nice. And I'm thinking, oy, this person, you know, thinks they have a good paint job. Or I did rag rolling. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, you watch too much HGTV. Anyways, I'm fortunate because Hire It Done has a stable of contractors that every year, for whatever reason, come back to me and say, yeah, Adam, we had a good year last year with you. Let's keep it going. And one of my oldest and longest contractors and friends and partners is John Cox from Prep Right Painting and Maintenance. I want to introduce him to the Hire It Done Show. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Adam.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I've never been better. Can't you tell?
Yep.
So let's talk about Prep Right. Tell everyone in the audience, because it's been a while since you've been on the show. You're too busy with painting jobs, aren't you?
Yeah, we are busy.
Yeah, so tell everyone about Prep Right.
Prep Right Painting and Maintenance has been around for 14 years, and we specialize in getting the prep and repairs done properly prior to painting.
So how long have you been a painter?
We've been in business since 2005.
Oh, there you go. So you've been a customer at Hire It Done almost that long, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's 10, 15 years?
It is,
something like
yeah.
that.
Almost.
So you get a good portion of your work from Hire It Done?
Yeah, Hire It Done has always been great for our company.
So the key here, my friends, is, you know, listen, I try and find contractors who obviously have to be licensed and insured. And we're going to talk about that because in the painting industry, it kind of changed recently for the state on the licensing part of it, which is really weird. But I wouldn't allow a contractor on Hire It Done unless they were licensed. And there was always this debate going on in the industry. Well, I had painters saying to me, listen, I have a $20 million paint company. I paint high rises. You don't need to be licensed to paint those. I'm like, yeah, well, in the state of Michigan, you need to be licensed to paint a house. Isn't that right, John?
Well, it used to be.
Used to be, and that changed recently. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But so what we do is we go out and check the work. We talk to homeowners who we've done work for, and we ask them, how do they do? Do they clean up after themselves? Things like that. And then, of course, we go to the suppliers, Sherwin-Williams, Pittsburgh Paints, PPG, whatever you want to call them. And we say, hey, this guy's buying paint from you. Does he buy a lot on a regular basis? Is he always asking for problems? Is he pay his bills? And you know what? They got to get all A's before they even get a chance to come into Hire It Done. One of the hardest categories to fill is painters, because a lot of painters, I could go buy some white overalls, can of paint, a brush, and knock on a door, you know, and say, hey, this homeowner, my name's Adam, I'm a painter. I could paint your house. Let's go. And then you're a painter. That's not how it works here at Hire It Done. So that's the reason why, you know, it's so hard to find good painters. And that's why we have John Cox from Prep Right. So, John, you don't have to be licensed to be a painter anymore in Michigan.
Yeah, that changed recently. However, the whole reason why somebody would be licensed is essentially to protect the consumer. And even if it's not required by the state for painters to be licensed, hiring a licensed contractor is always the best way to protect yourself.
Well, that's the key. And the reason why you have to be licensed, and the reason why you have to pull permits and items like that, it is really to protect the homeowner. It's not just to collect a fee or a permit fee or anything like that. But all right, so let's get into the painting itself, John. You're busy. Someone calls you. Are you weeks out? Let's say it's summertime, so I'm assuming. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Exterior paint is really what's busy right now.
Yeah, exterior keeps us real busy this time of year, but we still have interior projects going on. People need the inside of their houses painted year-round. With the exterior painting, we are probably 5 to 6 weeks out right now.
Oh, really? Okay, so still, what was it used to be when it was a little slower? You were still 3 weeks, 4 weeks out. So
right, exactly.
Not bad. And then when
I've
it's
added
raining,
some more painters to our crews so we can get more work done.
How hard has it been for you to add painters?
It is difficult, but with a good reputation, painters have heard of us, and they know that the painters who do work for us enjoy working for us and like the experience. So it's a little easier for me to get painters to at least listen to what I have to offer.
Yeah,
and
I take that every day of the week.
Picky. I can be picky and hire the guys that I know are going to do the best job.
And that's the best part about it. Finding good labor is hard. You've been good at it because of your reputation. You have a reputation of solid work, consistent work. So as a painter with experience, I would want to come work for you because of that. I don't have to worry about where my next job is coming from. You're always 12 months a year busy.
Right. Yeah, we don't have a break.
Well, that's just important. So when you go to a homeowner's house, are you seeing any trends in colors or, let's use outside colors first. Do you ever have anyone say to you, listen, I just want to freshen up my house, but I want to change the colors? Have you had that?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, quite honestly, the trends in colors usually start slowly in a neighborhood. People will see a house, a couple of blocks over. They love the color of it. They say, that's the color I want. I actually can go over to that person's house and scan the paint on their house and get an exact match. It's no longer just looking at a color deck and hoping you picked a color close to the color of the house that you like.
Ooh, that sounds kind of cool. So when you say scan the color, explain that process.
Well, portable color scanners are now a real thing, which is really great because I can put the scanner on somebody's house or on any item that somebody hands me, and it will tell me the closest match to any of the major paint manufacturers' colors. So then we can flip through the books and find the color that matches perfectly. Sometimes we get a 5-star color match. Other times we get a 4-star, which is kind of open to interpretation. Maybe.
So it'll say, like the scanner will say, this is grayish, and it's 4-star instead of 5, which is like a 90% match.
Right.
So you tell the homeowner, but here it is. But then the homeowner says, yeah, that's the one I want, or they go one layer, a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, things like that.
Right. Or we can just take the colors that are produced by the color scanner to the paint store, and the paint store can just mix it up to that exact match.
Well, that's even better. So is it a handheld device, like a gun or something? What is it?
It's actually just a tiny little cylindrical device that you connect to your smartphone. And
oh, really? It goes right on your smartphone?
Right, exactly.
Is this new? I never even heard of this.
Yeah, it's been around for a few years. There have been earlier renditions that weren't as effective as what's out today, but makes it really nice for people when trying to pick a color. Sometimes people have had new windows put on their house. They say, I want my paint color to match my new windows. I say, well, what's the window code that you picked from your window company? I don't know. So I can just scan the window, we come up with the exact match, and we can paint their house to match their new windows.
Oh, well, that's kind of neat. All right, well, that's cool. So for everyone out there who's thinking about, oh, I'll never be able to match this paint, or you couldn't match it in the past, we've got Prep Right Painting here. He can match any color. PaintMichigan.com is your website.
Yes.
That's the best part. Easy one. PaintMichigan.com. So, if someone calls and they want to get an estimate on painting, inside, outside, whatever it is, how long does it take for you guys? Because you're the one that actually comes out, right?
Yes.
Well, that's a good thing. So the homeowners who are looking to get painted get you, the owner.
It's the part that I like to do. I like to be on the job to evaluate what the needs are. With my experience, I can identify things that a lot of inexperienced so-called salespeople or even painters don't really see. And that way, when I present a customer with a proposal to complete the job, I know from start to finish that we're going to be doing the job right and that there aren't going to be any surprises. Well, at least no anticipated surprises, that we're using the right product, doing the right prep, and completing the paint job properly.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, that's the best part about it. So when we get into, the difference between you and other painters, it's hard to talk about, what you'll do and what the other ones do, because everyone, if you ask any painter, whether they're experienced or not, you do good work. Oh, I do the best. I'm the best painter. They call me Picasso, right? Well, I want to break it down. What is the best paint job when we come back? We've got John Cox from Prep Right Painting and Maintenance out of Northville, Michigan. Paints anywhere around southeast Michigan. And we're going to talk about breaking down a job. What is the best part about painting? Can you paint over other paint? Eggshell, flat, oil-based? I want to know the differences when we come back. I'm Adam Helfman. You're listening to the Hire It Done Radio Network. This is Hire It Done. My name's Adam Helfman. You're listening to the Hire It Done Radio Network. We've got John Cox from Prep Right Painting and Maintenance out of Northville, Michigan. Welcome back, John.
Thank you.
So, John, let me just straight up ask you, what's the best paint job?
The best paint job is the paint job that is prepped right. You need to make sure that before you put any paint on a surface, that surface is ready to hold the paint on, and that what's going on underneath the paint is not going to cause the paint to fail later on.
Okay, so let's give an example of a house. I got a house, brick 3-4 feet up. From there, I got T111 siding, wood outer corner boards. It's been painted, caulked 3-4 times. The house built in 1978, let's just say. Okay? I want to change the colors. Right now, it's got chocolate brown trim and cream insides, right? Brick is a brown. I don't want to paint the brick. I recently had new windows put in. I use Terratone, vinyl windows. I want to paint the house. What's the first thing Prep Right does when you come out to my house?
Well, what we're going to do is evaluate, especially you mentioned T111 siding. A lot of times T111, after many years, starts to delaminate. Just putting paint over the top of that isn't going to stop that T111 from continuing to deteriorate. So we evaluate that, and in a lot of cases, putting a good primer on that T111 prior to putting painting on is going to protect it and make it last a lot longer, keeping that paint on there for well over 10 years.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I haven't power washed my house, I haven't cleaned it, I haven't done anything, There's a lot of schmutz on it. How do I get rid of the schmutz?
Well, when we come out to start the job, first we're going to scrape the house, then we're going to power wash it.
When you say scrape, what do you mean?
We're going to scrape any loose or peeling paint prior to power washing.
Okay, so you actually walk around the whole entire house, get on ladders, and really get into it.
Right, exactly. We don't want to just wet your house down and make it look like it's ready for paint and start painting and not identify the areas that need attention. Especially, there are often times where from the ground you don't see a piece of wood that's rotted, but as my crews are going around the house, scraping, getting things ready for paint, they're also inspecting all of the wood on the house to make sure that the wood is not soft, because if we paint over soft wood, it's still going to rot in a couple of years or rot through the paint, and it's not going to look good.
Okay, and that's why I was asking. So if you find rotted wood, you're going to replace it?
Yes, we're capable of any type of wood replacement around a house.
So that's where the and maintenance comes from, prep and painting. And that's important, my friends. Anyone who's looking for a painter, make sure that he has the ability to do some light carpentry, wood rot repair, replace some wood, because those are the ways that they're not just going to paint over some rotted wood where it's all spongy and squishy. And especially T111 siding, which is a wood panel, 4x8 panel basically, that has a grooves in it. it's like a sandwich of layers of wood, really.
Right.
Over the years, it rots from the bottom up, and so you really got to watch out. And a good painter will tell you to replace it, because the last thing you want to do is paint over that.
Right. We don't want to paint over anything that's rotted or soft.
Yeah, which makes sense. So then once you prep the wood, you've scraped it, you've power washed it. Sometimes after you power wash your house, it looks really good. Did you ever notice that? They're like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have you paint it, just cleaned up.
Yeah, I've had that comment a few times.
But now you've exposed the wood to the pores are open and it's ready to accept paint, right?
Right.
Okay, so when you're on a house, and we've got the same scenario with the wood siding, do you spray it? Do you roll it? Do you brush it? What's the right way to apply paint on a house that's, it's a colonial 2-story, 2,500 square foot, that standard Pulte home they built a million times, and you got to paint it. What's the right way to apply the paint?
Well, using a good sprayer is critical on a lot of jobs. My painters are always going to make the best decision on how we can get the paint on the house to last the longest amount of time. If we've got parked cars in the neighbor's driveway on a windy day, we're not spraying. We are brushing or rolling on days like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to you tape the windows and all that, to make sure.
Yes. My promise to all of my customers is that we're only going to get paint on what they pay us to paint.
Oh, that's a good one. That should be like your tagline. We're only going to paint what you pay us to paint.
Right.
Or get
so
paint on.
If I get paint on the windows, I either have to charge them to paint their windows or take the paint off.
I gotcha. That's kind of cool. So when you do painted wood siding, okay, and you've prepped it properly and it's ready for the paint, and is there a special exterior wood paint that you use? Is there tell me what's the right paint for that?
So there are a whole variety of exterior paints. My starting point with all of my customers is the highest end paint.
Which would be?
Sherwin-Williams Emerald is what I recommend for almost every house that we paint.
Emerald's that's the good stuff.
That is.
But isn't duration good too, though?
Duration is really good.
But that's inside.
Well, duration is also exterior paint,
Okay.
and duration has been around longer than the emerald paint. But from what we find, that the way that the paint adheres with the emerald and the protection that we're giving our customers, that's always where I start. There are times when I think duration is going to be a better choice for the customer. There are times when I think a lower price paint is a better option for a customer, depending on if we're going to put a whole bunch of very expensive primer on the house prior to that. Sometimes a less expensive paint is all that we need. We don't need to then go into the most expensive exterior paints.
But, and this is where the bait and switch goes on. I've had people call me from big box stores who listen to the show. And this is interesting because I called it out on the radio once and I got feedback from it. And by the way, if you have a paint question, text us 97136. We'll answer it on the air if it's regarding what we're talking about with John Cox from Prep Right. So I said once, hey, homeowner says I want Benjamin Moore, I want Ralph Lauren, I want Sherwin-Williams Emerald, and here's the color. The painter that they use, not a hired done guy, obviously, will go get a gallon of the brand they want and then get 5 gallons of a matching color from a cheaper brand and say, here you go, Mrs. Jones, here's your extra paint. This is what we used here. Homeowner doesn't even check the big 5-gallon plastic, drum because it's not labeled like the gallons are, right?
Right.
Have you ever heard that bait and switch?
Yeah, I've seen that. Everything from watering down expensive paints to stretch it and people,
cutting corners.
Right, exactly.
So you don't do that, obviously.
No, and it's one of the things that I always make sure that my painters are purchasing from the paint store the correct paint. I see every order that comes through. I know that if they're starting a job that's going to require 7 gallons of emerald paint, that 7 gallons of emerald paint were picked up from the paint store.
Because I've heard, and this is what I've been told, painter goes to the big box store and says, all right, I need a gallon of this good stuff, and then give me 5 or 15 gallons of whatever matches it as inexpensively or as cheap as possible. And they do it.
Right.
And homeowner has no idea. And let me ask you a question. Can you tell if you went out, John, and a homeowner painted one wall with emerald, and let's say it's a green, and then they bought some watered down, whatever, cheapo paint next to it. Would you be able to tell?
Yes, I can definitely tell the difference. And in particular on interior walls, I can tell. I've had customers call me who've had painters show up, paint with super cheap ceiling paint, put it on their walls, and they want to know why their walls look so horrible. And I explained to them that if they thought they were getting something like a duration paint, that's not what they got.
Gotcha. Can you paint aluminum siding?
Yes.
Is it got to be prepped properly?
If aluminum siding is not prepped properly, the paint is not going to stick, and it's going to cost a whole lot of money to fix that. Okay. So it's always best, if you're going to have aluminum siding painted, to have a company such as PrepRite, who is experienced at painting aluminum siding.
Okay, is there any special prep you got to do to aluminum siding? Because it's got that chalky...
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're getting rid of all that chalky residue prior to putting any paint on there, and then using the right paint that's going to stick to aluminum for the longest amount of time.
Makes sense. So you have to come out and see it to bet.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I figured. But you've done it quite a bit, right?
Right, yeah, we paint more aluminum-sided houses than anybody.
Okay. That's what I figured. You guys have been around a while. You do really good work. So the website's paintmichigan.com. If someone wants to call PrepRite Painting and Maintenance, give them a call, 734-416-1400. Just go to hireitdone.com. John Cox, the owner, will come personally to your house. Is that correct?
Yep, it's always me.
Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Thanks, Adam. It's great being here.
I'm Adam Helfman. You're listening to the Hire It Done Radio Network.